There's this guy that wasn't feeling very well. He was getting sicker and sicker. And finally, his symptoms after several weeks, his wife, he was so weak he couldn't even go by himself. His wife took him to the doctor. And the doctor examined him carefully, ran a whole bunch of tests. And as the man was getting dressed, the doctor went out into the waiting room and called the man's wife into his office. And he says, "Your husband is suffering from a rare form of anemia. The bad news is that without treatment, your husband only has a few weeks left to live. The good news is that it's easily treatable. And if you follow the regimen that I give you, he should have a happy, long life. But it's really important that you follow these instructions carefully. 1, you're going to have to get up early every morning and fix your husband a hot breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, eggs, the works. He'll need a home-cooked lunch every day, and then an old-fashioned meat and potato dinner every evening. It would be especially helpful if you could bake frequently. Cakes, pies, homemade bread. These are the things that will allow your husband to live. And one more thing, his immune system is weak, so you have to be super careful and keep the house immaculate so there are no germs. And finally, he has to avoid stress. So don't be disagreeable. He'll need you to be as patient and as affectionate as you possibly can be." The wife walks into the examination room where her husband is sitting, and her face says it all. And he says, "Oh my gosh, how bad is it? It's real bad, isn't it? How much time do I have?" And with tears in her eyes, she says, "I'm so sorry. The doctor says you only have weeks to live." Few people actually know when their time is going to be up, right? How much time do you have? We don't know. One of the interesting things in our culture is that we are almost always conscious of what time it is. We wear watches. We have cell phones with the time on it. Whether we're in an office or school, in a car or in a hospital or anywhere else we go during the day, there's always a clock nearby. And at least, would you say, a dozen times a day, we check to see what time it is or more. So at least a dozen times a day. In fact, one of the most common questions we hear daily is when someone asks, "What time is it?" And once in a while, you might lose yourself in a novel or maybe a hobby you enjoy, or you get stuck on social media, and we get so wrapped up that we say we lost track of time. Or even though that might happen every now and then, we quickly recover and get ourselves back on time and resume knowing what time it is. For those of us who dare to call ourselves Christian, what time is it really isn't the most important question we should be asking. A better question when it comes to time is not what time is it, but what am I doing with my time? What am I doing with my time? You see, the problem is with always asking what time it is that it's a constant reminder of something that most of us probably find depressing part of our lives, is that our time is running out. Amen? Now, you came to church today, I'm sure you're glad to get depressed, right? But the truth of our finite lives should not depress us. It should motivate us. But that the first reading today states it all. You simply can't take it with you. St. Paul in our second reading challenged us not to be more concerned with the details of daily distractions of life, but instead, quote, think about what's above, not what's on earth. Well, I would say to St. Paul, very respectfully, that that's a lot easier to say than it is to do. Yet we cannot deny that our faith compels us to constantly strive for that which is not easily done. I mean, who thinks loving your enemy is easy? Who thinks that forgiving someone who's really hurt us is a simple task? Okay, who thinks that this push inside us constantly to this desire to put ourselves first all the time is a desire we can easily set aside? It's hard. It's real hard. But the parable that Jesus shares in today's gospel warns us that if we put everything else into things, if we put all our energy and our thoughts and our time into things that will not last, we will miss out on what does last. Let's stop asking what time it is and instead start asking, how am I spending my time? Let the church say. This was a particularly short homily. Just remember that when they're particularly long.